Welcome to Rauta's Reviews. Today's band is a classic in a sense, at least its album is kind of a classic. Now, before we take a look into this Incubus album, let's take a little bit time to actually review the name. So, there are lots of bands with the same name, Incubus, and due to the kind of legal facts or whatever, this one actually got to change its name later on. But back in the 1980s, there were quite a few Incubus names, bands with the name, and kind of all of them played more or less more extreme metal, with maybe some exception to the heavy metal. Now, year 1986 especially seemed to be very important to these kind of bands with the name of Incubus, whether there was lots of new bands founded with the name or actual releases. Now, this band later on changed its name to Opprobrium, but this one actually did their first two albums with the name of Incubus. And this one is called Serpent Temptation, a kind of a reissue of a classic death thrash album. Now, there are reasons why some people would not maybe rather listen to this album, and I get to those details in a bit. So this is a reissue of an album from 1988, and as you can see, this is a digipack with two-fold. There's only track list here below, and the information, 3 band members in the images, and the rather ugly cover photo, very 1980s and very horrible. Inside there is not much else but a kind of a collection of photos in a very classic sense of these kind of a reissue or combination collection albums, and then the CD, which has kind of nice vinyl-like layout. So let's take a look underneath. There's only one picture more to show really, and this is it. So kind of an angel-like creature. And now we can actually talk about that. So Incubus was a band which kind of got this bad vibe because of Christian topics. Now on this album they are not kind of that much present because there are no crosses, there are no thanks to gods, there are no lyrics where you can just figure out what is going on with this band. But later on they more or less turned into Christianity, and that kind of maybe affected some things. Now musically, Serpent Temptation was quite ahead of their time. Now remember, this is 1988, so 1 year before albums such as Altars of Madness by Morbid Angel or Beneath the Remains by Sepultura. Meanwhile, the style is pretty much the same. Kind of a death metal infused with thrash metal, only this time it's more focused on thrash metal. But clearly those two kind of genres are colliding into each other. So it's not pure thrash, but it's not pure death metal either. Now these songs are quite classic 1980s stuff. So that is to pioneer their kind of extreme metal through these genres and styles of metal music when there were no foundations that much, back in the place. Even when albums like Altars of Madness came into existence and kind of changed the world for death metal, it was still something new. And like I've been talking in my previous Morbid Angel video, that was not something that was like, okay, we heard this a million times before. So this album was basically out before Morbid Angel debut, and it was very much the same kind of a genre of music. Now, Serpent Temptation is clearly not that much of a quality album as Beneath the Remains, not to mention Altars of Madness, but it's clearly rather good album. All the songs have these good thrash elements and these nice death metal elements, and even the production is pretty solid given that it was recorded already 30 years ago. There are no weak links as such on the album. Pretty much every song on the album kind of stand its own ground, so that means in essence that the album is from the very beginning to the very end quite strong. It's not like this album has some hit songs, so to speak, so there are no kind of a Chapel of Ghouls moments, or the type of, Angel of Death kind of instant hits where you can just instantly like figure out, yeah, this is it, and we're gonna hear this song for the next 30 or 50 years. And that is, I guess, one of the reasons why Serpent Temptation is not the type of classic as the other albums mentioned before. Nevertheless, this album is quite strong in essence, and all the vocal works and all that stuff is something that could basically take any punches thrown at it from any current modern death metal albums or thrash death hybrids and all that stuff. So Serpent Temptation is kind of a underrated album that clearly kind of deserved its second chance. This reissue is also released by Brutal Records, which I think was the original label releasing this album. Correct me if I'm wrong on the comment field below, because I'm not sure. I didn't get any kind of a background info or promotional sheet with the album, which I got from a review from our friends in the States. Nevertheless, this band from Louisiana is still very much back in the game as much as goes to this album. The funny thing is, if we take another look at this album, that this is now released with the very same cover, but the newer brand's logo on it. So the same music, the same cover, and basically everything else is the same, except the name of the band is Obrorium, and the label by that other re-release is by Relapse. So should you want more, closer to the original copy of your album, get this nice digipack. And if you just prefer collecting different versions of the album, get both. It's a nice album, and if you don't mind that ominous Christianity mentioned on the album, you're pretty safe to go. At least there won't be lyrics to bother your sleep. Thank you for watching this review. More stuff to come to you later on, and as always, stay metal.